Hey there, friends. Today we're going to take a simple cross from Dollar Tree and make it into a meaningful piece of decor. Let's get started. I'm using both a cross from Michael's, which is this one here. I believe the regular price is about 99 cents. And of course, this one from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use some wood filler, and I believe I usually get this like at the Home Depot. I'm gonna fill the hole that is made for the hanger on that one from the Dollar Tree. So I'm just taking a toothpick and just kind of working the wood filler in there. The Michael's cross has this staple that they use to hang in their store. So I just work out that staple and I fill in where that staple was, and then that hole in the back that you can use to hang the cross. I let this dry overnight, and then this is the next day, and I'm just sanding down the excess wood filler and just trying to smooth it out as best as I can. And I'm painting these with Java from Folk Art. I'm giving them both one coat of the paint. And with this pillar candle from the Dollar Tree, I'm just rubbing wax all over the crosses. And this is going to help me achieve a chippy paint look on these crosses. So I'm just rubbing the wax mainly where paint would naturally distress, and this is an easy technique to do, and it kind of allows you to control how chippy you want your paint to be. So like I said, I usually just focus on the edges, but if you really use a lot of wax, that will help you to get a chippier look. With this dry paper towel, I'm just kind of knocking off the loose wax. And I'm painting with cottage white from Folk Art. This is also another chalk paint. And this will be the top coat of the cross for both of the crosses. So I'm just going around painting the whole thing, front and back, sides, and I'm going to give this 2 coats and allowing the coats to dry very well in between. Once the paint is fully dry, then I scrape off the paint where the wax is, because that doesn't adhere to the first coat of paint. So I'm going to use this little plastic scraper to just scrape off that paint. And this is just a little plastic scraper. I believe I got it at Dollar Tree. So I'm just going around and scraping, and that's giving me that chippy look that I'm going for. And then I'm just using my little sander just to get a smooth look or a smooth finish. So once I have my crosses all chippy, I'm going to use this stamp. It's Philippians 4:13, and I got this from Hobby Lobby. I don't know if they still have this stamp, but they have a lot of faith-based stamps that might speak to you or just get your attention. Like when I saw this one, it really spoke to me. And you could also look on Amazon, see what options they have. I'm just using this ink pad. This is also from Hobby Lobby. So this says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And then in very small type, it says Philippians 4:13. So that Philippians 4:13 it's too long to fit on the cross. So I just tried to wipe off some of the ink with that paper towel. So I'm just trying to get everything centered, and I'm just trying to apply even pressure as I stamp. So here it is. It looks pretty good. There have been times I've made these crosses a lot, and there have been times where like it doesn't come out good, so I have to try to sand it and then repaint and start over. I mean, I just sand and paint over where the stamp was. I don't do the whole thing. So I'm doing this one now from the Dollar Tree. Again, I'm trying to wipe off that Philippians 4:13 as best as I can. This is actually the first time I make the cross from the Dollar Tree, so I was pleasantly surprised to find that this was a perfect fit. So I usually stand up when I'm stamping just so I can get a better overview of where the stamp is and if it's centered. And it came out really well. Now, some of the Philippians did come out there on the end, but that's okay. So I'm just going to lightly sand that Philippians off of the cross, and I'm just going to touch it up with some of my paint. So there, looks pretty good. I have this ultra fine tip Sharpie that I'm going to use just to go over some of the stamp. Like where I had sanded, it kind of sanded off a little bit of the stamping, so I'm just retouching that, and I'm retouching the larger cross. So there, everything looks a little bit more crisp. This wood slice I got at Dollar Tree, it came with a rope to hang on it, but I just pulled it off and pulled out the staples that held the rope in. So I wanted to use this as a base for this smaller cross. So I'm just kind of seeing how I want to put the cross. I'm using E6000. This is a permanent industrial strength glue. So I'm just adding it to the cross where it's going to touch the base there. And I allowed it to dry for several hours, and I am adding some hot glue to add Spanish moss around the cross. Once I filled in with the moss, I wanted to add some other florals. This is some greenery off of a garland from Hobby Lobby. These are some dried flowers that I believe I got from Hobby Lobby as well, but I wasn't really convinced by either one of those. So ultimately I decided on this Sola wood flower. I used some hot glue to attach the flower to the front of the cross, and then I had these dried, I'm not quite sure what they are. They were from a bouquet of dried flowers, and these were just like fillers, but they kind of look a little bit like small wheat. I don't know what else to call them. So I just went around and I filled around the cross with those, just giving it a very natural, very neutral look, and it just filled it out very nicely. So here this is. For the taller cross, I'm using this wood round that came from Hobby Lobby. I drilled a hole in the middle, and I had my husband drill a hole into the cross up through the bottom. This is a drywall screw. You see that the head of the screw is flat, so I needed to use a screw with a flat head. I don't know if I could find something different. Maybe if I looked on Amazon, I could find more of a variety. But whether I went to Home Depot or Lowe's, that was the only type of screw that I could find with a flat head. And I wish I could find some that were shorter, because that's like 2 or 2.5 inches, and it's way too long than needed, or way longer than needed. But that's what I have to work with. So I'm just sanding the wooden plaque because it is a little bit rough. And now I'm going to paint it with the Folk Art antiquing wax. So I paint, and then with a paper towel I just wipe off the excess because I don't want this to be too dark. So I did the whole thing, and now I'm going to drill in that screw. And this is really not my strong suit. I did eventually have to ask my husband to help me again. And he ended up having to drill the hole in the cross a little bit deeper because the screw, like I said, it's just too long. So eventually we got the screw drilled in nicely into the cross and the base, and it was nice and flush on the bottom so it wasn't wobbling. And then I just had to touch up a little bit of the base there with my antiquing wax. Much like the other cross, I added some Spanish moss with the hot glue. And I know that I want to add some Sola wood flowers. I have 2 variety packs from Amazon. I bought these a couple of years ago, but here I'm just showing you some of the flowers that came in one of the packs. And honestly, my packs might be kind of mixed all together at this point, but I can look to see if I can find links for you. So ultimately I decided on these 3 flowers to put at the base of the cross. And I'm also using some of that wheat that I used for the smaller cross, so they're nice and coordinating. So if you've watched to this point of the video, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you learned something and find some inspiration to make some faith-based decor for your home. And I hope to see you in next week's video.